Hello everyone, this is Evie Lupine. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you all. Today we are going to be talking about my own personal aftercare essentials. Now, I made a video probably 2 years ago now where I talked about how to make an aftercare kit, and it has always been my intention to go back and remake some of that content in maybe a little bit of a different way. And since then, I have talked a lot about aftercare. I have talked about pre-care, self-care, aftercare for dominance, aftercare ideas, because aftercare is really important. I had to pick 5 things that every person in BDSM should know before they start playing, and maybe I'll make a video about this in the future where I go more in depth. It would be aftercare, safe words, consent, limit, and negotiations, because those are all really important things, and I think they are fundamental to understanding at a beginner level pretty much all concepts within BDSM, regardless of what personally interests you about doing BDSM. You should be aware of those things. So today, I thought it would be interesting to talk about what I do for aftercare, because it has definitely been a process. It has definitely been a trial and error and thinking through a lot of things and figuring out what causes me to feel certain ways after a scene that I don't necessarily want to, how to avoid sub-drop, and generally what my emotional state is after scenes. And I have found that I don't need aftercare for all types of scenes, and the type of aftercare that I need varies from scene to scene, from play to play. Like, I don't really need any aftercare after I do service submission or after I do rope bondage. So for me, aftercare after those scenes really just looks like having my corset off and my high heels off and being taken out of the rope and just being given a moment to relax and rejoin normal society, if you will. But it's not any sort of intensive aftercare. It's just kind of going back to reality a little bit. Whereas with something like impact play, I generally need probably the most aftercare there, with the exception of things like blood play and needle play, which you can kind of consider a subcategory of impact play. This is something that impacts the body. Those types of play are the ones that I need the most aftercare for, just because they are the most physically and emotionally intense on me. And pretty much everything else, fire play, cigar service, puppy play, stuff like that, aftercare needs vary from scene to scene and person to person, and it can vary all the time. So kind of what I have come up with is just some general things that I know work for me and that I can get to easily, that are easy for my partners to do for me, things that are easy to use at dungeons. And I'm going to be kind of breaking this down into 2 categories. So I'm going to be talking about physical first and then non-physical aftercare. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one, and the one that is the most important to me in all of my scenes, is water. Water is very important. I drink this during scenes if it is something that I am able to do, like example during pet play, but most types of scenes, if you're doing something that's 2-3 hours, you really shouldn't be going that long without water anyways. And if you're doing anything that's any level of physical exercise, if you are doing an impact play scene, if you are hosting a high protocol dinner party and you're going up and down stairs with heavy platters for 2 hours, you are going to need to drink water. And for me, I am very prone to headaches, and I don't want a headache to be the reason why a scene is stopping, so I keep water on me. And it's also cold and refreshing, so if the weather is hot or it gets really hot in the dungeon, and it helps me cool off so I'm not getting overheated during a scene. And it's kind of a nice little reprieve during scenes as well. And I think it's something that is aftercare. It should be during the scene, and water is very important. I sound like a nutritionist, but it is. So if you don't have any idea of where to start with your aftercare, water is what I would do, because you would be surprised how many problems get started because you are dehydrated and don't realize it. So keep that in mind. Number 2, that is also very important to me, is being taken out of any restraints. I don't know if I would necessarily call this aftercare, maybe the start of aftercare or the end of the scene maybe, but just being taken out of any restraints, rope, being able to go into comfy clothes, not necessarily having to go back into my clothes that I came in if I was dressed up or in latex or something. Being comfortable, having comfortable, loose-fitting clothes is so important. And I know for some people, it helps them to transition when they've done rope bondage to keep some of the rope on. But for me, when I am done with the scene, I need to be done with the scene. I need the rope to be off. I need the cuffs to be off, with the exception is maybe a collar or cuffs that are a little bit looser, so not necessarily putting any sort of strain on any of my ankles or on my wrists. That is really important for me to be able to transition out of scene space into regular everyday space. Along with that, being put in comfy clothes is also very important. Hate being cold. I cannot stand it, and especially after something that's physically taxing like a BDSM scene, I need to be able to recoup my body heat. This is something that's very, very common amongst people who engage in impact play, anybody who does any kind of rigorous play. So I put on sweatpants, a loose fitting t-shirt. I also have a couple of sweaters that I wear. I actually specifically make aftercare sweaters, which if you are looking for an aftercare sweater for yourself, there is a link to my Teespring down below. Brittany Simon also makes some as well. It's actually where mine is from. I have the one from Brittany's shop, so check that out if you want to find some very, very soft, comfortable sweaters. But being warm is also very important, so I'm going to call this number 2/number 3, because for me they happen like pretty much at the same time. Along with being warm, I have this little guy right here. This is a little lamb that is filled with lavender scented beads, and when it's available, because some dungeons have this, not all of them do, I certainly have one at home, you put this in the microwave. I usually do it for about like 2 minutes. I put my blanket on top of it, and then I go and refill my water, or I do anything else I need to do to clean up the scene if I haven't done so already. It lets this cool down a little bit more, so it's like skin temperature, so I can put it against my body, and it also warms up the blanket a little bit, so I can roll myself up with all of my comfy clothes and sit with my play partner, or sit on the couch by myself if that is the situation I'm in, and just be warm and snuggly. And having kind of the weight of this on my chest I find very comforting, because it's not heavy, but it's not light either, like, because it has the beads in it, so it's heavier than a normal stuffed animal. And just being able to have this here or here, having some kind of comfort against my skin if I've had a scene where I'm not really ready to physically interact with my play partner again yet, which does happen to me sometimes. This kind of gives me that same comforting feeling without necessarily having to interact with a person, and it's warm. I do also have a lot of blankets. I have an unreasonable number, I think, or at least that's what Mr. Tex has said, is like the blanket population of his house has like tripled since I started seeing him. But I have a bunch of blankets. I actually make fleece blankets, so I have a bunch of these because they're warm and they're soft, and it's a fun craft to make. And this one has little bunnies on it, and it's just cute. And this one is kind of like a little short shoulder one like this, so I can sit here and do this, and it's so comfortable. And so I'll just keep this if I'm not looking for like full cover, but I want something that's sort of comforting. And I actually sit with this on very often when I'm editing videos and things like that, because it's not really heavy, and especially when it's hot outside, sometimes I want to feel a little bit of comfort, but I don't necessarily want to have like a full heavy blanket on, and this is a good solution to that. So I just take it with me because it's small and easy, and I'm pretty much never remiss when I do bring it with me. And the next form of aftercare that I really enjoy is hair brushing. I keep this little hairbrush on me, or another one of my other sort of small hairbrushes. I just have them all over the place. I keep them in my play bag, I keep them in my purse. For me, I find the sensation of having my hair brushed very lightly to be relaxing. I like the sound, I like the sensation on my scalp. I actually like rubbing it across here or across the back can be nice as well. This is something that's very relaxing, and it's something, again, that if I am not in a mood where I can interact with my partner immediately after a scene, or if I am doing something where my partner has other play set up or whatever and I need to engage in self-care, I can brush my own hair, and it feels not quite as good, but almost the same as having somebody else do that. And it's something that's really quick and easy, and especially if I'm playing with other people, it's really easy to bring this myself. Now, when it comes to impact play specific scenes, I don't want to say necessarily that I have a set routine, but there are things that are very specific to when I do impact play that I found really helps me that I don't necessarily need for other kinds of scenes. So if I'm doing a scene where I have had intense impact play, but I haven't broken skin, and that's very important, I like having a hot bath or a hot shower, preferably a bath. And I'm not normally a bath person. I do not enjoy baths normally. I will normally choose a hot shower, but when it comes to doing an impact play scene, I do find it helpful to just be able to sit and not necessarily have to stand up in a shower. So I have found that these two things together are very helpful for me. So I think I have actually mentioned this body oil before. This is something I probably have talked about in my aftercare kit video because I know that I have mini travel bottles of this. But what I do is I take this and I take this and I make a bath and I sit in it for 20 to 30 minutes after a scene. And these bath salts are from Love Milk. Hopefully you guys can see that. This is the sapphic smell, and it makes my whole bathroom smell like these. I have a whole bunch of these at Mr. Texas's house, and they just smell so nice. And I found that even just the bath salts have a very, very relaxing feeling on my skin. They make my skin feel a lot better. I find the smell to be relaxing, and in particular, they have about 101 different scents. So I have things like lavender. I have ones that are very sweet and gourmand. I have ones that are floral. I have ones that are very neutral and masculine, ones that smell like smoke, to kind of go with whatever the mood of the scene that I was just in was. And I also find this is very helpful for pre-care as well, because baths are very relaxing for the muscles, and it helps me kind of get more focused and centered. So these are really great, and this just makes it a little bit more moisturizing and kind of a lasting moisture. I find this by itself, the moisture doesn't last as long, so I add a little bit of this, and this is really great to just use on the skin in general. I wouldn't necessarily use this on the skin directly by itself if I've had a very intense impact play scene, but if I've done something like a light spanking or impact play was kind of a side salad to the scene that we were doing, I would use this oil because it helps re-moisturize the skin after it's been spanked a bunch of times, because that can be a concern because the air here, especially with AC going or the heater going, gets very, very dry. Now, if I have done impact play that is particularly intense, and if I have had any broken skin, so if I've done needles or scalpels, or if the spanking or paddling, whatever it was that we were doing, or whipping was too intense and I broke skin, I wouldn't necessarily sit in a bath like that. I would take a hot shower because I don't want to put a bunch of crap on open wounds. So I won't use that. I will use HIPAA on whatever it is that needs to be washed off before proceeding with normal first aid standards to what we do after a scene. And I don't necessarily want to get into safety stuff in this video because I don't want anybody to think this is like instructional for how to take care of cuts and stuff like that, because it's not, and that kind of goes beyond the scope of this. If I am dealing something with my skin being very red or dealing with bruises, my two weapons against that are Arnicare gel and this Comfrey Candula healing salve. This you can buy pretty much at any health food store. Arnicare is supposed to be good for muscle stiffness and bruising. Your results will vary, as it will with pretty much any natural remedy. I have found this works not so much at preventing bruises for me or for healing bruises, but with stiffness in my joints. If I'm doing a pet play scene where I'm on my knees for a long time, or if I'm doing a rope bondage scene that involves a lot of predicament, I get stiff muscles, especially the day after, and this helps make it better and helps it from being worse than it otherwise would be. And these have different consistencies, which is why I keep them separate from each other. This is a lot more liquidy, whereas this is a salve, and I will just show you guys what this one looks like here, if I can open it. And it's one of those things where a little goes a long ways. This is what it looks like. And this one definitely has a much more strong fragrance. This one doesn't really smell like anything at all. So part of the comfort of this one is the smell is very relaxing. But basically what I do is I will take a little tiny wooden toothpick and I will take a little tiny scrape of this and I will rub it into whatever area needs it. This is kind of more of a spot treatment. This is more of an area treatment. So if I just need something, there's a little bruise or a bump that happened somewhere, or if we got too close with fire play, I will put this on here because this is actually meant for cuts, and it is also meant for burns as well. If it's a cut and if it's a significant cut, I will do more in-depth methods of addressing that. But if it's just a little tiny scratch, or if it's a burn, and I don't mean like a 3rd degree burn, like my skin is black, I mean like a little bit of almost like a sunburn from fire play, I will put this on my skin, or I will put aloe vera, but it has to be pure aloe vera, because most of the after sun treatments that you see on the market that are just from Walmart or whatever are mostly alcohols, and those are really drying on your skin and not super great if you are actually trying to help your skin not be dried out and make the burning worse. So I use this more for like burning and fire play, and I use this more for like joint stiffness. If I am experiencing any pain beyond that, I will occasionally take a painkiller. That goes more into the preventing headaches thing for me, because I am prone to headaches, so I will take those to prevent headaches. And occasionally I will take like half of an aspirin if I am trying to encourage bruising, but I will take that after the scene, not before it. If I'm trying to encourage bruising and I want to also lessen the pain, I take like half of an aspirin and I take a hot bath, and both of those things help encourage bruising while also being part of my aftercare routine. And now let's get more into the non-physical stuff. And this is where it gets a little bit personal, because non-physical stuff, you can talk about that, it's whatever. Everybody kind of has their own physical things, and it's normally not that weird, but I find that non-physical aftercare is a little bit more difficult to talk about. It's more personal. And for me, it's kind of about evaluating the feelings that I want to cultivate after a scene. Like for me, number one thing that I need, particularly if I've had a difficult scene, is reassurance from my partner that what we did was good, that they were proud of me, that I did a good job. I suffer a lot from insecurity in my BDSM, as hard as that is to believe because I make YouTube videos about it, but I am perfectionist. I judge myself a lot, and being able to hear from my dominant that the scene that we did was good and fulfilling for them helps really relieve that, so I don't like ruminate on the scene for 3 days and think, oh, I could have done this more, oh, I should have done that, oh, I shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. Because if I don't hear something along those lines, I will sit there and I will think about it and rehash it over and over again, and then I can't enjoy the scene anymore, and that's not great. I also need to cry. Not right now, but during impact play scenes, I usually need to cry, if not during the scene, closely thereafter. I'm a very emotive person. I cry a lot, and for basically almost any reason. I'm not quite, crying because I found out that swans can be gay, like level of cries easily, but when I experience something that's physically intense, my main reaction is crying. And if I'm not able to cry, if my partner's not comfortable with that, if I'm in an area, a dungeon, a house or something where I don't feel safe crying, really fucks things up for me. So I either need to be able to cry during the scene, right after the scene, or I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna ruminate about it and then I'm gonna cry, but then it's gonna feel really negative because I had to hold it in, and I hate that because, family reasons, growing up and bullshit like that. I just need to be able to cry after a scene, and I have found that my partner's reaction to my crying is very important as well, because if they can't handle crying and they do the I don't know how to interact with this negative emotion, stop, like, I hate it when people are like, don't cry. I'm like, nah, bitch, I'm gonna cry, and I can't help it. So hopefully you can support me and be there for me, and then you understand this is not a personal thing. 90 to 80% of the time, it's a pure physical reaction. I'm just gonna do it. As far as the emotional aspects of actually interacting with my partner, I have found that for a lot of scenes, depending on how they go and what sort of energy we're playing with, if it's not like a happy, laughy, floaty type of scene, I usually need to be separated from my partner or my play partner for a short period of time after the scene, because I need to be able to get out of the mindset of them being my captor, my torturer, my sadist, my whatever they were in that scene, and being able to see them as a real person again. And if I try to immediately go from they were hurting me really badly to I'm supposed to snuggle with them, my little animal brain like can't function. It's just like, no, this is enemy. Can't snuggle enemy. It's bad. Don't snuggle enemy. And I have to have time to kind of get out of that mindset of this is bad person to no, this is a person that we like. And I don't mean bad person in a negative way or like I didn't enjoy the scene. That's just how my little animal brain sees it, and I can't help it. So that's why I have to have the separation, because I know that it's not rational. And then I go back and I see my partner. With some scenes I do need to be able to snuggle or be comforted after a scene. I love being hugged. I love being snuggled. I love having somebody's arms around me. I'm not a kissy person. I really don't like kissing. But kind of any sort of warm physical contact I'm pretty much okay with, and that does help me feel better after a scene once I have been able to make that transition. Environmentally, I need things to be quiet. I pretty much always need things to be quiet in scene. I do like music, sleeping, aftercare, that kind of thing. I need things quiet. And especially if it's something that's been intense and we were just in a loud dungeon with a lot of screaming, I need to be able to shut that off. Because I get sensory overload really easily, and having to replay all of the screaming and not being able to kind of slow my brain down and slow my heart rate down because I'm getting anxious about all the people around me and all of the noises and all of the sounds and all the things that I'm supposed to be blocking out. That's really not great for me. So when I go to dungeons, I do sometimes bring earplugs because it does help cancel out noise, and that can be good for in-scene as well as aftercare. I just need quiet space. I need space to feel whatever I'm feeling and not have any sort of outside interference with that, if you will. And that's basically what I do for aftercare. Again, I just want to say I don't do all of these things for every single type of scene. It does depend on the day and the type of play and how I'm feeling and what energy we're using and a whole bunch of other factors. So this is just a general list of things that I have found helpful. Hopefully, if you are interested in trying to find more ways of doing aftercare and kind of evaluating what you might need for aftercare, this gave you some hints and examples. If you guys have any comments or questions about anything that I mentioned in this video, please do so down below in the comment section. And if you are interested in the aftercare sweaters or in the bath salts from Love Milk, I will link all of those down below in the description box as well. Love Milk stuff is really cheap. I usually get a pack of like, I think 6 of those bath salt sample sizes for maybe like 15 or 20 bucks. So they're pretty affordable and they last me quite a while, so I do recommend them. If you guys like this video and you want to see more from me, please subscribe. I make videos twice a week. And finally, if you like this video and you want to help support my channel, help me make more videos like this, get better filming equipment, being able to make more videos and better videos, and being able to make more exclusive content, Patreon is the best place to do that. If you already support me on there, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. Patreon is what keeps this channel going. This is what keeps me being able to make this content in this time of turbulation and trials on YouTube. So thank you so much. And until I see you guys next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.